Absolute banger. Coming up this weekend at welterweight, this might be my favorite fight on the card. We have Kazakhstan's own Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Guyana's own Carlston Harris, and I absolutely love this fight because both of these guys do the same things very, very well. They're both very unorthodox when it comes to the striking. You have the combat sambo master of sport background of Shavkat Rakhmonov combined with the awkward jiu-jitsu skills of Carlston Harris. And if you look at it, I mean, on paper, these guys match up so well against each other that they decided to sign on the dotted line and fight each other. And when I look at it, if you know Fight Night Picks, you know I'm a fan of the show. I think you should leave. And I think everybody should check it out because it's either going to be a giant hit and a home run. You're going to watch every episode multiple times over, or you're going to absolutely hate it.
It gets worse every time you watch it. I'm going to say that.
No, it doesn't. But if I could say anything about the way that Shavkat Rakhmonov fight, it's almost like he moves to the beat of jazz. He kind of brings like a cosmic gumbo to the octagon because for Rakhmonov, he's one of those guys that whether it's Michel Prazeres, who, I mean, he tested for everything after that
The needle
fight.
melted when USADA put it in his arm.
He already had, what was it, a 2-year USADA layoff, before that fight. But Michel Prazeres, after his fight against Shavkat Rakhmonov, in samples from August, September, October, and November, tested positive for a couple of different banned substances. So a late career Michel Prazeres, who already had to move from 55 to 70, got handed a 4-year ban.
Like, do you think when some fighters pick up the phone, they see USADA, they're like, oh, Jeff probably just wants to have a word. I'm sure it's nothing big. You know Michel, when he saw USADA, he was like, oh no, they're on to me.
It was bad. But regardless, in that fight, it was kind of a talking point. The fact that Shavkat Rakhmonov had so much height and reach. And it was really interesting to see, okay, how is he going to figure it out? You can even hear the commentary team talking about it in the fight because if you look at it for Prazeres, what's one thing he can do in that exchange? He can throw a lot of leg kicks because if you're the much taller fighter and you can't figure out the distance, kicks are going to be thrown naked and you're going to have a hard time trying to back them up. And what does Shavkat do? He finally figures it out with the hands. He gets the takedowns. Now, I know he's not credited with takedowns on UFC stats, but it's those awkward exchanges, those body throws that he's able to get.
Remember when you got mad at me for saying UFC stats isn't always accurate? It's weird how that happens.
He's able to land them. He's able to get the finish. And it's an odd one at that. He's got his back to the cage with Prazeres in front of him, and he's able to submit him. And the weirdest part about it is, you look at it for Rakhmonov, he has that master of sport and combat sambo in his back pocket. He really does use his body weight to his advantage. And if you go back to his UFC debut, he has really good balance when he's defending his takedowns. I thought that was one of the nicest things because against Alex Oliveira, who's just trying to get the underhooks and throw him, he just plants one foot and he just stays like nice on the balance beam and he's able to get out of them. If you look at it for Rakhmonov, he's a great, great boxer. He has great jiu-jitsu, great guillotines. Obviously, you saw that against Oliveira. But he can get in some firefights, and he was able to get in some really, really fun ones over with M1 Global. And the last thing I have, Matt, he's a former M1 Global welterweight champ. And if you look at it for Carlston Harris, former Brave welterweight champ as well. These guys are really high level.
I'm going to say this about Shavkat Rakhmonov right now. I think he's Vicente Luque without the resume right now. I really do. I think he is a ranked fighter without the ranking yet next to his name. Because when you look at his unique combination of skills, you bring up like combat sambo, and normally in the MMA world, like when you hear a combo sambo background, your ears perk up.
Combat?
Sorry,
a Big John
combat
McCarthy.
sambo, sorry. Your ears perk up. Like normally people with those types of backgrounds go on to have extremely successful careers in MMA. Look at Habib, Fedor, like some of the all-time greats have sambo backgrounds.
Blagoy Ivanov.
Blagoy, he survived more than an MMA fight
and
too.
Beat Fedor in combat sambo.
Also got stabbed in the heart and lived through that, so he's faced adversity. This is the thing about Shavkat, though. He's a great long-range striker. He's a very good middle-range striker, and when fighters make it close, he's a big enough submission threat to where they can't just shoot volume takedowns, and he has really good elbows in close, too, so he can make guys pay for closing that distance. That's a recipe for a ranked fighter right there, because no matter what challenge you bring into the cage, he at least has a basic answer for it. It's not always going to be, okay, what happens if Kamaru Usman shoots power double legs on him? Nobody has the answer to that. But when you ask yourself, okay, can he fight on the inside against someone who's clinch heavy? Of course he can. He has elbows, he has knees at the middle, and he's very physically strong for this weight division. At long range, I would honestly say he has a style somewhat similar to Jeff Neal. He will wait behind the jab. He's very upright and will throw some kicks. The thing I worry about with Shavkat, though, when he does start to fight more consistently ranked fighters, because, listen, I think at some point he's going to be in the top 15, especially when we get by Harris, is how is he going to face when he does fight those big power punchers who can get on the inside of his range? Because I would say if he has any weakness himself, it would probably be his own offensive wrestling game, because I think he will have a hard time sort of getting the bigger, stronger welterweights off of him because of his range. People are going to look at him and say, okay, I can't fight him at long range, we're going to have to fight him in close. And other than his submission abilities, which are very high level, don't get me wrong, I just worry about him a little bit with some sustained defensive grappling positions. But I look at Shavkat Rakhmonov and look at him as good of a prospect as there is in the UFC. I put him in the Ilia Topuria category. I put him in that Song Yadong category. I really do think that if he is able to start fighting on a more consistent basis, he really will be able to get into the top 15 sooner rather than later.
And we haven't talked about Carlston Harris enough, because this is a guy, you look at his last loss, this is Jarrah Al-Salawi, a very, very good fighter over with Brave. And I mean, since then, big time wins. Now, he was featured on a show. It's called Dana White's Looking. Now, can you explain what the acronym means? What does FWD mean?
I don't know. Looking forward to a fight, I'm assuming. Oh, yes, that's what it was. They were getting ready for like Conor Dustin 3 or Conor Dustin 2. And they were going to do like, ooh, we're looking forward to that big one. So yeah, they did. It was a terrible marketing ploy. I'm not defending them, Craig. I'm just saying.
I was just trying to be funny. It was just a joke.
It
was a
bad
bad one. I was going to say Full Whittle Devil, but...
What?
FWD.
Craig making jokes that no one understands.
But Carlston Harris on Dana White's Full Whittle Devil, looking forward to a fight. It was an interesting one because he was matched up against one of Khabib Nurmagomedov's teammates, and it was one of those ones where Khabib was there. Wasn't Salt Bay there too? And he was supposed to get the win, and then all of a sudden he gets the win over Saigid Isagagmaev, and he gets a finish win in that one. And that was one of those ones where you go and you look at Carlston Harris. This guy is the master of, I wouldn't say defensive submissions, but a lot of darces, a lot of guillotines, a lot of gator rolls, a lot of special things. And the biggest part about Carlston Harris's game is he's one of those guys, goes out there and throws with reckless abandon because he can. And in some fights, you knock out Impa Kasanganay. Yeah, it was a TKO and Impa kind of protested it. But I look at Harris as he has 3 different ways he can throw his right hand. He can throw a right cross, he can throw a right overhand, or he throws it kind of like a club. And when he throws it that way, he knocks guys down. And it's very unorthodox. If you were in a boxing gym, they probably wouldn't tell you to do this. But I'm serious. He throws his right hand out there, and it's almost like he strikes right there. It's a recipe to break your hand. But for Carlston Harris, it has worked for him. He knocks down Kasanganay. He ends up finishing it. But the biggest part to his game, and that's why I think this matchup is so interesting, because he will throw with a lot of power. He will throw with some volume too, which can cause Rakhmonov to get caught in a mirror, and he might get a little bit confused with it. But with Carlston Harris, the biggest part to his game, he gets you up against the fence. He goes for the body lock. He either gets the takedown or he ends up getting your back and he gets the submission. He is a very, very special fighter, and I think that's why this makes for such a good matchup.
I know I've hyped up Rakhmonov a lot, but I feel like it is justified because, A, he has no hype behind him other than, like you had said before the video, like Luke Thomas really likes him. But,
and us.
But that's the thing, like he doesn't get nearly enough credit as he deserves. He has 14 wins in MMA, 7 of them by knockout, 7 of them by submission. You want an exciting fighter? Well, he finishes fights. He can get it done on the feet. He can get it done on the mat.
In title fights, he doesn't just win to win. He doesn't Tyron Woodley his title fights.
He tries to put you away. I just think Shavkat Rakhmonov is as exciting of a UFC prospect as there is, and maybe you don't even have him as a prospect anymore. He's 14-0. He's 27. He's still very young in his career. I just think it's time for him to start fighting those borderline top 15 guys. Maybe the legends, if you will, who have kind of fallen out of the rankings, or another really hyped up prospect, because I see this fight as a lot of other Rakhmonov fights. I think Harris is going to leave himself open on the feet because he does overextend himself a little bit going for power shots. And if Rakhmonov can counter him even one time on the feet, he's got a big speed advantage, and he is a very intelligent finisher too.
He's kind of like the Said Nurmagomedov of this division. He can really get it done
big.
In a lot of different ways. He's big, and he can also submit you. Like you saw Cody Stamann going for that submission. Now, I didn't think Said was going to submit him like that, but absolutely wild stuff. And he's training at Sanford MMA is Rakhmonov for this one with guys like the Jaguar Pa, Loic Rajabov, Tyrone Spong, who I just keep mentioning, Nick Lentz, Fiziv's over there as well. We look at the odds for this one, and Rakhmonov opened a minus 175 favorite. He's minus 240 right now. Harris opened at plus 150. He's plus 192. And if we look at the total votes on Tapology, 905 total votes, 88% Rakhmonov. Split 25% by decision, 31% by submission, 36-ish% by knockout. For the 12% that have Harris, 30% by decision, 41% by knockout. When I look at this fight, it's tricky because Harris was able to rock Kasanganay all the way into Eagle FC, where maybe one day he could fight Loic Radzhabov. Maybe. Kind of crazy that Loic would even take a fight over there. But Harris got rocked by Christian Aguilera in their fight, which was weird. It was a shovel hook that rocked him. And then all of a sudden, Harris is able to start to strike with Aguilera, and Aguilera just goes for a takedown and screws himself.
Again, my prediction has nothing to do with Carlston Harris not being good. He's an insanely talented mixed martial artist. I just look at Shavkat Rakhmonov, look at how clean he is on the feet, look at his ability to finish fights on the mat. He does kind of represent the next level of MMA fighter. Like, he is a well-rounded mixed martial artist at his core, but he can finish fights on the feet and on the mat, which is something that's very uncommon.
To me, I just need to see Shavkat Rakhmonov. The only kind of, big knock is just I want to see him strike against the top-level strikers. That's the thing. So if he's able to go out there and put on a good clinic here against Harris, that's what I'm eager to see. The one position where Carlston Harris excels is those upper body throws. I don't see that happening against Shavkat Rakhmonov at all. So that's a big point that I have for this video. So for me, I have Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think he's going to be able to get the win. We're both in agreement in this one, but if you have Guyana's own Carlston Harris, you let us know down below in the comment section, because I think he's one heck of a fighter, and I think he really brings the yin to the yang of this fight, and these guys are going to come together and make something special. So I absolutely love this fight. We both have the fighter out of Kazakhstan here, and we've got a couple of big fights. Up at the top, Punahele Soriano taking on Nick Maximo, but in the main event, Jack Hermansson, Sean Strickland, that you're not going to want to miss. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.